On today's show, we have Tyler Jones, friend of the podcast, coming back to join us for a preseason conversation. This is part 1 of 2, and it's coming to you right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1569 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Wednesday evening into Thursday, and I am joined on today's podcast by good friend Tyler Jones for part 1 of a 2-part conversation. Always fun to talk to Tyler about the Hawks in any context, and he's been probably the most demanded guest by the listeners in the last couple of weeks and months, so he's back on the show today. A few plugs, though, at the top of the podcast. I want to encourage you to make us your first listen each and every day, and please check us out anywhere you get your podcasts, places like Apple, Spotify, YouTube on the video side, etc. We also have 2 shows already this week, a mailbag and news podcast on Tuesday into Wednesday, and also a game recap on Monday evening, as well as another one over the weekend. So 3 shows in the last 4 days, basically. And as a reminder, the Hawks open the season less than a week from now in Charlotte on Wednesday, a true road opener, and then the home opener is next Friday against the Knicks. Should be a lot of fun. I'll be in the building for both those games and plenty to talk about, I should say. Anyway, with all that out of the way, we are coming up now with part 1 of 2 with Tyler Jones. Again, part 2 should be available in your same feed right now, but here it is, part 1 with myself and Tyler. I am joined once again by a great friend of the podcast, and I said this before, I'll say it again, by far the most requested guest of listeners and viewers to this podcast. Tyler Jones is back. Tyler, how are you on this fine Wednesday in October?
It's October?
It is October.
Where are the Braves at then?
They don't play anymore this year.
All right, I need to let people inside. Sorry, Brad. I gotta let the fans of yours know this about me, some stranger.
This is a great piece of content to open the Hawks podcast. It's great. We love it.
The Braves were like my first Atlanta sports team, and were probably my most, like, before Vic became a Falcon, or before Vic was drafted, the Braves were my team. So what happened in the 2023 playoffs is old hat. Like, sure. I've seen this. I've literally seen this for 20 plus, almost 30 years now of the Braves doing this to me. So this ain't nothing new. And, hopefully they'll, spend money in the offseason instead of just, re-signing their players, which is nice. But, they can always acquire talent. There's certain Japanese two-way player.
It'd be nice.
Just saying. But we can move forward.
It's okay. You and I are aligned on that, I think. And I actually, this is not to do any more on the Braves. I actually got multiple questions from people that were like asking why I sounded much more like exasperated on my Braves podcast. And I wanted to say, well, because I'm a Braves fan. Like, and I admit that. Like, I do try to cover the team pretty objectively. I've been in the press box. Like, I do put my media hat some time on with the Braves, but I'm not there every day like I am with the Hawks. Like, I cover the Hawks professionally. I cover the Braves semi-professionally, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, I still have a lot of like fan investment, and I got pretty animated during the series. And anyway, that's not really what I usually do with the Hawks. But alas, Tyler, ostensibly we should talk about the Hawks at some point. So here we are. You're back. I intentionally wanted to wait till closer to the season. People are like, "Hey, where's Tyler? Where's Tyler? He's coming. I promise he's coming." We've seen 4 of the 5 preseason games as we record this. There's 1 more to go. I don't know who's going to play in Philadelphia other than James Harden. Probably not going to play, it seems.
We will learn 30 minutes before tip.
We will learn. That's probably true. But as we sort of get into the season, I'll ask you, like, you're watching. What have you cared about? What's jumped out to you at preseason? Like, is it Jalen? Like, what's the big thing that's kind of jumping off the screen to you so far through 4 games?
Trae Young getting the ball in the corner. Like,
yeah.
This is something to say, like, he starts multiple possessions in the short corner, and he's not involved in the action until, like, somebody else is driving the offense, whether it be DeJounte or Jalen, really, most of the time. And so once the ball swings his way, he's in an advantage situation where he's either getting an open corner 3 or a layup at the rim because he can beat his man off the bounce. But it's like, I think my biggest takeaway, like the overall, regardless of the players, it's really refreshing to watch the Hawks play a modern brand of basketball where it's through your big men instead of just your guards doing everything. Like, to me, this feels like now we're going to get more actualized talent from guys like Okongwu and Jalen in particular, where they get to touch the like Okongwu gets to touch the basketball, Brad. Like they didn't do this for 3. They've had this man for 3 years, this multi-talented big man who could do everything, and all they've asked him to do is be a jump man. So I personally appreciate that. Okay, we're going to explore the space, what Okongwu can do with the ball in his hand. And we're getting to see, early what Jalen can do with the ball in his hand. And Jalen looks incredible. To me, like his passing, he's just he's the connector that the Hawks have not had since the Al Horford years, if that makes sense. Like, especially from like Al Horford, Paul Mills. But again, that was their offense, was like those guys would always.
Right, that was the whole offense. Yeah.
But like Jalen's like Jalen's a different type of passer than those two. Like he's a true where those guys are like they'll make the right play. Jalen is creating plays out of nothing. Like, well, you've done
this before. This is your comp in some ways. You know who his passing reminds me of on the Hawks. It's Josh Smith. That's who it looks like.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. Modern Josh Smith. Honestly.
It's more responsible than Josh was at times.
Josh Smith was more responsible than I gave him credit for. It
as
was
a passer,
really just jump shots. It really was a jump shots with him.
No, and not to derail you too much, but it popped into my head when you said that. But no, I mean it's fair, and we can talk about Jalen for an hour. We're not going to do that, but
no,
like he is. It's something I probably haven't talked about enough. Like he's such a different entity than they've had even 2 or 3 years ago when they made the run. Of course, it was a lot of Gallo, and Gallo was really good that year. But Gallo obviously is a far cry from Jalen in a lot of different ways. And then you got John, and then you got DeAndre Hunter, who's not that. Cam Reddish is not that. Like they haven't had anybody at either forward spot that was anything remotely approaching the passer that Jalen already is in year 2.5. Basically,
the Hawks haven't had this type of player since Josh Smith, period. And it has been appreciated by me because Josh Smith did a lot of good things for the Hawks. He was a very good basketball player for a very long time. He just had this one flaw, one flaw with him.
No, and again, not to go down the rabbit hole too much, but Josh Smith, for all of the flaw, and we know what the flaw was, if you're a longtime Hawks fan, he was very good, man. I think people have forgotten that Josh Smith was still very good, like very good.
In spite of himself, he still should have made all-star teams. He still should have been like.
And the defense was really, really good when he wanted it to be. And all that said, Jalen. It's funny because the middle 2 games, Jalen was much better on offense. The first game is kind of clunky. Last game he wasn't great, but like the flashes are the flashes, and they're making the rounds on Twitter. Like even nationally, people are like, "Hey, you seen Jalen Johnson?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's got the flashes."
But to me, where he really flashes is when he's playing next to Trae Young, because you really get to see the damage Trae Young can do off the ball, like that. And it's not the off ball Trae, Steph Curry movement, anything like that. Trae's a different player. It's more of Jalen creates an advantage with his drives to the rim. Trae gets the ball with a head of steam against an opponent who's leaning the other way. It's over. If Trae got a step on you, it's you're done. And another thing that I've noticed is that, especially in the Pelicans game, because they tried to put bigger defenders on Trae.
Oh yeah, the whole game.
Just put Trae off. The Hawks put Trae off ball and have him running around, and have him running with like big guys setting hard screens on bigger defenders. And I'm like, this is just a different element. It's easier. It's easy to guard Trae with not easy. Nothing's easy with Trae, but you can load up against Trae Young if Trae has the ball in his hands all the time, is doing whatever. You can put a bigger defender on him because he's not going to do anything off ball. But if Trae's off ball, it's just harder, especially for bigger players to stay with him. Like Trae turns into a wide receiver, and you got to play defensive back. there's like a athletic advantage that Trey has that he hasn't been able to utilize that within Quin's offense, because it's not just Jalen who's doing, but to me, Jalen's the one who gets him the pass, like who hits the pinpoint pass, where the other guys, it's like they get him the ball, but the advantage might be lost. Jalen, his ability to keep the advantage with the timing of his passes and the speed at which he passes with, that's what's really separating him to me. I'm like, because I kind of, I've been promoting the Jalen Okongwu agenda. I gotta keep. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. But to me, I feel like Jalen's kind of made himself indispensable. Like he's been to me, like he's somebody who, instead of like getting minutes just because we don't have anybody else who can really play the fourth the way he can defensively, I feel like Jalen's kind of pushing himself towards, I got to play 30 minutes a night. You're going to have to figure something else out, Quin. To me, he's forcing himself to be on the floor in ways that the Hawks really need from that position. And I mean, we talk about a bit more. Sadiq Bey's playing well, and DeAndre, his one game he played, he was all right.
All right, I'll take it. Today's show is brought to you by Birddogs. Birddogs is fantastic, bringing comfort, fit, and versatility to the table with all of their products. I feel great and comfortable in my own skin when wearing Birddogs gear, and they have these Birddogs stretch khaki shorts that I love. They're designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg to give the sculpted look that you're always seeking. They fit much better than regular shorts that actually have that, that stiff, restricting cotton that everybody hates. They don't have that at Birddogs. They fix that issue with their own cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but also happens to stretch, giving you a slimmer fit without having to sacrifice any of the movement that you have to love. They have anti-sweat fabric as well, keep you cool and dry all day long, and Birddogs are functional for any occasion, whether it's a date or playing golf, going out, working out, or even just hanging out in the end. The folks at Birddogs make awesome products, and you're going to want to check them all out right now. Birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA is the place to go. Enter promo code LockedOnNBA when you get there as well at checkout for a free Birddogs water bottle with your order. That is birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA for free water bottle at checkout. You will not want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. They can run different stuff with Jalen than they do with anybody else, and that is clear. I'm not trying to be cold water guy. I promise. They're not, and this is fine. This is not a bad thing. They're still trying to figure out. It seems like when you watch film back, sometimes what to do with Jalen on offense in the half court, and that's been the big thing. And I will say, to his immense credit, something I've been noticing him trying to boost is that he's shooting when he's supposed to shoot. When he's open, he is letting it fly, which helps because that means you get guarded. But it's like, how are they going to do this? And I'm not interested in doing 30 minutes on the starting power forward because I don't really care that much. But I agree, he's gonna play a lot. He's gonna force us on the floor. The defense is what it is. That's a question. I think he and DeAndre together, I'd love to know more. I wrote about that. I know you're not the biggest DeAndre Hunter fan. I'm higher on him than you, but that's like the lowest possible bar to clear.
If DeAndre Hunter would just play like he did against the Pacers in a meaningless preseason game.
No, but honestly, I don't want to.
I'm serious. I'm serious when I say this.
I know, but because I don't want to overstate it because he played with physicality against the Pacers, which something that he's not done enough of in his career. And this is not new to you and I talking about this. And it's one game. He looked healthy, which is good. That was a real question. Like, once it was real that he had the bone bruise, it's like, okay, he's had some knee trouble in the past. Like, my antenna was up, and he looked pretty good there. But like, and look, who starts is going to get attention. But if you really look at it, they have 96 minutes to fill at the forward spots. And yeah, you'll probably get a sprinkling of AJ or Bogey at the 3. Maybe you get a sprinkling of Wes Matthews. But like, the majority of those 96 minutes are going to go to Hunter, Bey, and Johnson, the 3 of them. They can all play 28 minutes a night. Like, there's plenty of room there for those guys to play like real minutes. And I know not everybody, a lot of people want Hunter to play less. I understand. He's going to play. We had this argument, you and I, in kind of funny terms. Like, he's going to play plenty. It is what it is. But I do think that they have complementary skill sets. Like, none of those pairings, Hunter, Bey Johnson, Hunter Johnson, they don't all fit perfectly. In fact, none of them fit perfectly, but they do enough different. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still not convinced about Hunter and Jalen offensively, but we'll see. and defensively, they could be pretty good with that group. You put Hunter, Jalen, and a center on the court. Now you're talking about a real defensive front court in a way that they've only had one of in the last couple of years. And as we've talked about, anytime they played Hunter, Collins, and Capella, they actually got stops. It was if you took any of those guys out, they couldn't do anything else. So I'm not even sure where to even go with it. I know you're high on Jalen. I'm high on Jalen too. I don't know what they're going to do, but they do have options. And like, this is coming from people that you and I are really high on John. And like, they have more optionality now. They have more passing. They have more ball handling. Like, it just kind of fits better if they get what we hope they're going to get from Jalen. And Saddiq Bey is like, I'm not trying to undersell him, but like, he's such an easy fit on offense. Like,
Saddiq has really like upped the aggression with his drives. I think that kind of started with the Celtics playoff series where he wasn't actually taking that many threes. It was a lot of like, they told him to get 2 feet in the paint, and like he's taking that to heart. And he's moving people out the way. Like I've been impressed with what Bay's all around again. He's been really good. Like I don't want to sell him short. To me, I mean, you're right, Brad. It doesn't matter who starts. I just think for where the Hawks want to go, which is to win a championship, they got to find a way to get Jalen to be more assertive as a scorer on offense. Because that's once he does that, then we're talking about a different type of basketball player.
We totally agree. Long term, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? So and like to me,
love that, but
me,
it is what it is.
The way to grease that is to play him next to Trae Young, because Trae Young and Jalen are going to be able to create mismatches for each other just based on the attention Trae is going to generate. And so, like, if we can start games like that, start with a strong defensive base, have Jalen, pushing stuff in fast breaks off of defensive rebounds or steals or blocks or whatever, all the stuff he does defensively, because he's been pretty impressive on that end too. So like, that's why I'm like, maybe you start Jalen, but I could see Quin going back to Hunter and Bey just because of the shooting. Like, Bey's shooting cannot be.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about what you prioritize, and that's not it's not a knock. It's just early in the year, and they also, this is not just a fabrication thing. We've all talked. They really, really like to keep Jalen and Onyeka together, and it's obvious why. They play fantastic basketball together. And I know what's going to happen. It's already happening. People are going to start turning on Clint. They always do, because they want to see Onyeka. And I get it. I understand. It's just unfortunate that he's too good.
Could simply catch the basketball in the fourth quarter of a playoff game.
I know.
With the season on the line.
I understand. And look, I'm not saying that Clint's not Superman, but like, he's a good player. He's a good
respect. Look, everybody loves Clint, Brad.
No.
I love Clint. The fans love Clint. Everybody loves his teammates love Clint. Like, everybody loves Clint. I'm just like, in the fourth quarter of a must-win game, you can't drop that pass. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
I agree. So I said it that night. Now, and I do think that.
No, you didn't. You gave that man an excuse that night.
No.
Let's not audit game.
It's a bad play. It was a bad play. I do think that you're going to see Okongwu probably close more games this year, if I had to guess, situationally. But this is a topic that we don't have to go any further down. We all know the deal here. Clint's too good to not start. Clint's too good to not play. They have to trade him, or this is going to be what it is. There are two options with the center spot. They either split 50-50, basically, or 52-48, or you trade Clint. Those are the two options. I don't know which one they're going to do. They haven't traded Clint yet.
And Jalen are starting game one. Oof, do not at me, Brad. Don't at me.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Snap into the action this NFL or NBA season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Beyond the awesome perks of signing up with FanDuel, they have all of what you're looking for in the sports betting space: point spreads, over-unders, money lines, player props, future bets, and much more. The app is safe and secure at FanDuel as well. They cover the entire range of sports. They have, of course, the NBA, NFL, college football, MLB, WNBA, college basketball, golf, tennis, soccer, auto racing, and much more. And they have a ton of options with regard to the Atlanta Hawks, including the preseason win total that we're always talking about on the podcast. They have Southeast Division futures, player props, and much more. And now's the best possible time to join the folks at FanDuel. is FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Check out the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network with an offer that you will absolutely not want to miss. That is FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. I will be shocked if they start Okongwu, but I would not go crazy about that. I think that would be aggressive. It would be kind of it would be very much out of the norm of the way NBA business is done. Yeah. I'll say that. But listen, if they think that Okongwu's better, like, okay, that's fine.
Okongwu's been really good.
He looks very good.
And this is the other thing where we're talking about Jalen, about finding his offense. I feel like Okongwu's been a lot more confident trying to go score the basketball. Just in large part because he's touching the bigs are just touching the basketball more. They're more comfort. They have more. Even Capella had a dribble drive.
No,
it didn't look out of place. It didn't look out of place. And
I'm sure you saw and read the article. I'm sure you saw and read or heard what Quin said. I think either I played it or shared but Clint was asked about it. Quin was asked about it. I think this is me saying this now, not the team. I think that Quin knows that 3 years from now, it's going to be Okongwu, and they're starting to put stuff in that looks more like Okongwu, and they're having Clint do it too, which is fine because he's not terrible at it. He's not obviously Clint's a lot less skilled than Onyeka. We all know this with the ball in his hands.
But like he's more not skilled than he's been given.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, I mean, even for Clint, who is not the most skilled guy, with the ball in his hands, like he's even been probably, you could argue, underutilized. Like in terms of like that handoff game, like, you know, DHOs and fake DHO, all that stuff. They're putting it in more, I think, to accentuate Onyeka and build that habit long term, et cetera. But it also can help your offense. Like you led with it earlier. You have Jalen in that spot. It's more it's something that Glenn, I think, noticed right away, and I've noticed now. I'm watching for it all the time. They don't really ever have anybody in the dunker spot on offense now. Yeah. Like that's where Clint or John just lived for like the last 2 years, basically, was because if they played together, one of them was there almost all the time. Occasionally you'd see John in the corner, of course, but if Clint wasn't in the action, he had to be there, basically.
Yeah.
And now they don't do that anymore. Like they're doing more hybrid stuff, and I'm not an X's and O's expert, can kind of explain it all, but you can sort of see that and how they're using guys. And
if you watch WNBA basketball, that's how a lot of the teams play in the W, with their bigs more out
higher up
on the free throw line, catching the ball early, DHO action. It's kind of also what the Kings were doing last year. A lot of that was Sabonis. Like,
but they have Sabonis. That's the thing. Like that's
that's true. But I think we're going to see a lot of teams, and I feel like the amount of preseason game I've seen, a lot more teams are going to be trying to play that way, just because it's more space, and your bigs are happy because they get to touch the basketball outside of like obvious dunks.
Well, and I know we all make fun of Rudy Gobert, including you, but they had Rudy do that in Utah, and Rudy does not strike you as the most skilled guy in the world either, and he was playing higher up before than Clint's been playing. Like they didn't like run stuff through Rudy, but he was doing handoffs, and he was touching the ball. Like the ball has, what's the saying? The ball has energy.
Yeah, or ball has life. Yeah,
whatever it is. I mean, that I think it does apply. There's a reason why that's said. So I don't know.
I'm intrigued. I mean, it just keeps the bigs. The bigs for the Hawks been working so hard defensively.
They have to
just to get a single stop, and then on the other end, they literally never get to touch the basketball. It's a tough, like it turns the regular season into a grind, and it's like it's very hard to get consistent effort from your bigs. That the type of effort that this team in particular needs to be good. Like it's just hard. Like in the anytime, like I just macro. Macro point. To me, I just feel like from a process standpoint, just in overall, where the Hawks are shooting more threes, they're getting to the rim more, they're getting to the free throw line more, just because of everything they're doing. Like I think that's going to just help them win games where, like, there were just too many games the last couple of years where the game ended in the first quarter. The game ended in the first quarter because the other team was just taking like what the Pacers did. Like the Celtics for like the last 2 years would just show up, play 5 out, and the Hawks would be done because they'd never shoot enough 3-pointers. They'd never get enough rebounds.
Well, you lose, and there's a reason why I yell about the math problem all the time. And I know people hate that. I know people get annoyed with me because it's a lot of repeating myself, and I understand that it's not the greatest like listen in the world, but like there's a reason why I have stressed that so much. Like they just were not playing the math game, and like over 82 games, you have to play the math game. Like you just have to. There's a reason why these guys win games. Like
Brad, the game the Hawks were playing was a possession battle game where get more offensive rebounds, don't turn the ball over, and no turnovers. And so we just get more possessions than the other team. But your margin is so thin because the game you have a bad turnover game, or the game you don't get an offensive rebound because the team's like they're not calling defensive fouls on the team, like for whatever reason, and you can't grab offensive rebounds
or if their team makes threes, or if their team makes threes one night, you're gonna lose. Like you're cooked. You lose.
You're just and the game's over, and there's nothing the players can do about it. And like to me, I feel like there's a better. We shouldn't use vibes as often as we do, but like there's just a better like feel to this team just because it feels like they believe in what the coach is telling them, and because they believe in what the coach is telling them, they're going to play harder. It's going to lead to a lot less games where we're like, why aren't they playing hard? Why are they giving up so much easy stuff defensively? Like the stuff that's not excusable. Like there's some stuff you just get beat. That happens. The lack of execution defensively, the lack of focus on defense, the lack of focus on offense too. Like it where it's just if they could cut that down, that'll give them a better margin of error. So when they have every team's gonna have a bad game, but like if your process is sound, like if you feel good about what you did that night, like if you feel like we executed, we just didn't make shots. It happens. It's 1 of 82. We can move on. We can move forward. Instead of this is the 5th game we lost. We're better than this team. How we lose? How we lose to the Houston Rockets, Brad?
Ugly fashion,
games like how do we lose to the X team when we were actually actively better, except at this one area, the 3-point line, and we lose. Like we got more rebounds, we make more field goals, all this other stuff, no turnovers, and we still lose. Like what's going on? If we get to me, it's just more of like it's more of a good culture in the sense that the players now will feel confident in what they're being asked to do.
Yeah, it's they're and look, I want to be careful not to overstate it too, because once you start losing, things change. Like it's everybody's got better vibes than training camp. It is what it is. But I do think that there is a level of buy-in that we can see so far on the outside. Look, I pay close attention to this for obvious reasons because I cover the team all the time. But like, even the way guys are saying things is different. Like the quotes people are giving are different. Especially the backcourt, the leaders, Trey and Jase.
Okongwu's talking more. Brad, Okongwu's talking.
Okongwu and Jalen.
I'm hearing I'm hearing both of their personality for the first time.
Okongwu and Jalen are just maturing in every way. I mean, you can see it,
and they are. They're also getting older, but I feel
they're
like
getting older, which is natural. But they're both. I mean, and they have personalities. Like Jalen and Okongwu. Jalen's rookie year, that first summer league, you couldn't get 6 words out of the guy, and I'm standing right in front of him, and like and I get it. He had a weird college season. He probably had his guard up. I get all that. Like it is what it is. But like now he's up there on media day and post game after the game on Thursday last week at home. And he's just smiling. I mean, he played really well, which probably helped. But like, he's gregarious now. And O's up there just like talking like a 7-year vet. And because he is it's his 4th season. Like, I guess he's just he's still really young. These guys are really young, but they're all comfortable. And I think that's something that you don't want to give it all to Quin and the coaching change. But I do think that they know now, and that's one of the things that we talked about last year. Like, we got to wait till they have a summer and a camp, and like. Quin, I'm glad Quin said it on media day when he was basically like, we didn't put in anything last year. He and it was like a weird quote, but it also was like, it's kind of true. Like he coached he did what he could do last year. He praised the assistants that were there with him, but now he's got his guys and his system and time to put it in, and they're all buying in. And look, if they start 2-7, are they going to be bought in? I don't know. That's one of the great questions about the NBA. But like right now, the vibes are really good, man. Like they're feeling good. They trust Quin. And I think it helped. I think it helped a lot to know, especially for guys like Trey in particular and DJ, to know that, hey, your head coach, and I know Nate has the same kind of track record and all that stuff, but like when Trey got the almighty sign off from Donovan Mitchell, that was like, this guy made my career, basically. Like that stuff helps, man. They just saw you.
Here's the thing: Trae Young's has buy-in. That's
if he buys
Trae Young
in,
has buy-in.
That's huge.
Trae Young has buy-in, and he has proof of concept because he saw it work against the Celtics. He saw it work. They could have beat that Celtics team. They felt like at the end of Game 5 and Game 6 that they could win the game.
They were in the
that's
game.
Not something they felt like in Games 1 and 2. Period.
Yep,
they felt like they were going to get steam, or like, to me, just based on how the game flow went. Like after a certain while, they kind of just folded. Like Game 5, without DeJounte Murray, Trae Young has one of the better playoff games of his career. I mean, granted, he's had a lot of great playoff games, but that was truly special what he did there. And then Game 6, it was a continuation, and I think they all, as a team, the players all looked around and were like, "This works. This works." Shooting more threes, not being scared to get my shot blocked from the 3-point line, which isn't. I think Quinn talked. Bob Rathman had an interesting quote about that, about how Quinn wants his guys just to shoot threes and not be scared of a contest because most shots don't get blocked from the 3-point line. Granted, the second Bob said that, Kobe Buffkin had his 3-pointers. He had a 3-pointer block.
And I mentioned on the podcast that night because I'd seen the same thing Bob saw earlier in the day. And I was like, and I didn't even, I was at the game, so I didn't even hear the broadcast until after. But it was so funny. Like, all that is very amusing, but it's true. Like, he wants guys to just like, it's like, you're not trying to ignore your opponent, but the whole culture of just like, hey guys, I'm gonna be more mad at you if you don't shoot it than if you do.
Yeah.
And get it blocked or miss it or whatever. Like, he just wants everybody to let it fly and play loose. And the unselfishness word gets thrown around a lot. Quinn uses it a lot. Like, he talks about being unselfish a lot. And like, it's not like coded. Like, it just means playing the way you're supposed to play, like not caring about your own numbers and all that stuff, and like extra passes and all that. But no, to wrap up the vibe segment, like they feel like they are bought in, and I think that there's a reason to be. I mean, it's kind of weird for a team that was as mid as they were last year. We could just be candid; they were very mid last year, and they're bringing the same
better
crew
than
back.
Miami Heat, though. They were better than Miami Heat.
They had a better point differential than the Heat last year. Anyway. That we can leave it there for now, but it is what it is. Okay, I have to ask you before we lose all our time, because you and I talk and we lose all our time, about like
we talking like Quin Snyder right now.
I'm sorry, that's true. Quinn likes to talk in certain platitudes. No, I'm enjoying the Quin Snyder experience. It's just funny. We've already had a couple like laughs together about like he'll come off the podium after something. He'll fist bump somebody, or he'll give you a better answer once he's off the podium that you can't share. Like, once you step down, it's like kind of off the record. Not really, but it's like not quite as on the record.
Is it Arcia off the record? Or...
No, not that. I'm not. We're not doing that. All right, that is all for part 1 with myself and Tyler Jones. We have part 2 available right now in your same podcast feed, so go ahead and click on that one as well. Download, listen to that show. Please subscribe to the podcast. Check out Tyler's work on the Twitter machine if you'd like to. Subscribe, rate, review, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you all next time.